come Africa is growing at 6.5% and we are struggling to eke out 2.5%? What is it that's going on here? And is it really more bad than good? Sure, we're growing faster than Europe, but that's hardly an achievement. The advanced world now has its own poverty trap. Low population growth, poorly guided investments that mean low productivity gains, and labor force participation rates that are shrinking back to more sustained levels. That is not unique to the United States. Similar figures can be brought up for Japan, the United Kingdom, and almost all of Western Europe. 0% growth for most, 1% at best. That is the state of play for the next 20 years for the advanced world. And if that is the state of play, that has direct bearing on South Africa, because South Africa is open and heavily oriented to the rich world. Our biggest export partners remain Japan, Germany, the United Kingdom, and the United States. Our largest flow of foreign capital comes from the United States, Japan, and Germany. The tourist market is dominated by European tourists. It's the rich world that our long relationship sits with. And we can go through each of these attributes, but they're probably self-evident. This implies capital market stress. It implies uncertainty for foreign direct investment in foreign portfolio flows. It means that the resource market may not collapse in a heap, but if you want ultra-buoyant commodity prices, then you need all of the world to be growing. And approximately 60%, a shrinking figure, but approximately 60 and shrinking is not going to grow. So half of the economy, the world economy, is out of the game. That keeps a lid on commodity prices. Tourism and discretionary spend shrinks under these circumstances. And policies, this is not unique to South Africa, policies become increasingly anxious, inward-looking, and nationalist in their stance. And it's about, let's look after us first before we worry about others. It's probably the last one that is the single greatest tragedy in terms of policy, because it is open policy that again and again demonstrates that the greatest gains come through trade, exchange, collaboration, and so on. So this represents Headwind for South Africa. So it's against this backdrop of not a disastrous advanced world, but a sleeping advanced world, and a boisterous, rampant, robust, structurally sound, dynamic world, that I ask the question, what are the prospects for South Africa? And each of you will have already, I guess, made some assessments about this six-pack. How does South Africa look? Do we need to spend some time at the gym? And I'll make the observation again, if you don't have a country, you don't have a company. And equally, if countries don't have companies, then all economic hope is lost. The two are critically important to each other. And here is a really critical message, I think, for South Africa's dynamic dialogue in 2013, to get on with integration engagement of the public-private dialogue. Lots of figures talk about the woes, and there's great anguish about these. Education, for instance, whilst the numbers released at the end of last year, I think, point to some improvement, and there is certainly reason for a little bit of optimism, even if muted, that we are improving. The base is exceptionally low. This is the previous TIM study. There was a TIM study released right at the end of last year, which doesn't really change the assessment of South Africa. But the TIM study measures trends in mathematics and science. As I showed you, the pass rate for matric students. If you run your eye down the list, you see that super competitive economies, Singapore, South Korea, sit at the top of TIMS. You keep running your eye down the list, and at number 45, you see South Africa. South Africa ranks 45 out of 45. There is no one that ranks below us in the TIMS survey in maths and science. Our labour productivity has been left behind. So this shows you labour productivity gains. And I ventured early on that if you want to achieve sustained economic growth, you need three things. You need labour force participation, you need population growth, and you need labour productivity. South Africa's labour force participation has been in decline. Our population growth has fallen to 1.5%. Good news that it's recovering, and our productivity is very sluggish. As a consequence, these three ingredients add up to sluggish economic growth. So, and not only does the sluggish economic growth, does the low labour productivity add to sluggish economic growth, it also contributes to ever-increasing labour costs. And ever-increasing labour costs erode your competitiveness. So whilst there is, Abdullah asked earlier on this morning, he asked the question, what are the chances of us getting sort of a flying geese proposal where some manufacturing cluster moves from China to some parts of sub-Saharan Africa. It's basic manufacturing. As they become more proficient, that manufacturing spills over to neighboring countries, and you get the Southeast Asian flying geese model of building manufacturing excellence. What are the prospects of South Africa being at the lead of that flock? Not so good, given those manufacturing, given those education statistics and the manufacturing productivity. Here's the dialogue in terms of things that we could think about as positives. South Africa has more multinational corporations per capita, international giants, than any other country except South Korea. And we had the privilege of having one of those companies represented this morning, two of those companies in the form of MTN and Dimension Data. Global giants born out of South Africa. South Africa is capable of building true international champions. We have a robust neighborhood, 6% economic growth in the region. The public sector government balance sheet is strong and capable of funding significant fixed investment, which is a huge multiplier in terms of job creation and work experience, skills spillover. And the last one that I make reference to here is apartheid. And every evil has a gift. And the gift that apartheid left us with is the institutional memory of civil society. That the single most powerful organ in South Africa is us. We are here because we were there. And it is us as a civil society, as a collaborative effort, that apartheid was dismantled. So why not again? And if you wait for them, for them to do it, then it is as wishful as waiting for them to dismantle anything else, apartheid, for instance. So I want to remind you of the institutional memory of civil society. The prospects for South Africa are extraordinary. Our challenge in 2013 is to get on with it.